Right, and we are live. All right, sports update, fellas. Was good?
Good.
Another pod, another pod. All right, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Tigers right now, 21 and 22, fourth in the AL Central. Seems like they're reeling right now. Only worst team is Chicago. The pitching staff has been lights out. We've seen some good performances from the staff. Olsen had a good outing other day against in the Marlins series, a series that they really needed. So man, so Reid, man, what can this Tigers team do right now? Because they got one of the better pitching staffs in all of baseball, but they're just the bats aren't going right now. What does this Tigers team need to do right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that they can do, and whether they're obviously going to do it or not is always going to be up in the air. We know Illich isn't going to spend money at this point. I don't know who you would spend money on. Trading, the only trade assets you really have are your pitching staff, which I wouldn't want to get rid of, but I wouldn't be against getting rid of. Maybe one or maybe two of the later guys. Not obviously some guys that can be aces. No Olsen. Flaherty's been great on a resurgence. He's obviously a former Cy Young winner, but yeah, I mean, I think what it starts with leaving Javi in this lineup is just crazy, man. I mean, having a guy that's the worst player statistically in baseball, you can't argue it at all because it actually is factual that he's the worst player in baseball on your roster, batting ninth or whatever he's batting. It's just ridiculous. And the talk that people don't want to send him down because he's getting paid all this money and he's a vet. I think Aroldis Chapman from the Astros, he was a former MVP candidate, got sent down to the minors to get his head straight. So, will he get his head straight? I don't know, because he didn't do anything in spring training. He looked the same in spring training, could have got his head straight there. But at this point, I think your only option, if you want to win more games, either you ride it out and hope Riley Green and Kerry Carpenter and Spencer Torkelson, Urshela's back, so that's good. Canna's always solid. I mean, unless you can find another, two Urschelas and two Mark Cannas, like your lineup's still going to be pretty shitty. So if the bats start heating up, I mean, they say they heat up in the summer. I mean, that's fine, but you really can't wait. I mean, everybody else is going ahead of you with the Royals and the Twins and the Guardians. So it just kind of is a tough spot that they're in. Trading, I think, is the only way out of this 500, just above 500 ditch.
I mean, I'm gonna say the worst. Pitching is so good, but it just doesn't matter when you have a top 5 pitching staff, but yet you got probably the worst offense in the league. You darn near got swept by the Marlins past few days. It took a Torkelson home run to get them that win, and then they offense just doesn't show up. They get shut out. It's just bad, man. You shut out back-to-back games against Marlins. I believe they're the worst team in the majors right now. They're trying to sell off all any assets, all any good players that they have. So you're gonna have to go out and get some bats, like Reid was saying. I mean, make some calls. You might have to trade one of your top pitchers, or maybe a Scuba if you can get some positional players, because we know the Tigers don't like to. They don't like position players, man. They're allergic to it, man. And if you can't hit, it doesn't matter how good the pitching is. So at this point, Illich doesn't want to spend the money, so you got to figure out something, man. But Sky Harris, whatever, man. It's come down to Illich, man. If he makes the final call on these things, and he just doesn't care. They don't even have a good payroll right now. So
I think the worst thing about all of it is that you almost lost a series to the Marlins, who are one of the worst teams in baseball. You lost to the Astros, who are the worst team in baseball, because you have no bats. Your game differential is like 2 runs. Like, you can't have anybody in your lineup batting like and driving in more than 1 or 2 runs. Like, it's crazy that your pitching can pitch scoreless inning after scoreless inning, and then they allow a closer or someone allows a base hit that gets a guy in or something like that on a bases loaded, but your bats just are not saving anyone. Reese Olson is one of the biggest, it like hurts me for that kid because he's young. He's super talented. Obviously, if you look at his stats, he's 0-4 because he's pitched. I think he's only given up 8 runs out of the last, or when they played, the Marlins, he gave 8 runs in 19 innings and, or 19 batters, and he just has no help. Like, it he 0-4. He should not be 0-4 at all. He should be 4-0 or 3-1 at the worst. Like it stinks. You can't lose to the worst team in baseball and be above 500 because arguably the Tigers are one of the worst teams in baseball. Pitching aside. Go ahead, Raj.
Yeah, I know the whole trade Scooble thing came up. Personally, I wouldn't do that. He's your best pitcher. He's going to be an all-star. He's like 5-0 right now. Crazy ERA. I know the idea of it sounds good to get some bats. I mean, it's something to say for people to see light at the end of the tunnel. But me personally, I wouldn't do that. Just the guys on this roster got to pick it up. Torque, Riley Green, these guys got to pick it up. Javi, these guys just got to pick it up. They got to do better ultimately. I wouldn't trade Scooble.
I will say at Scooble, I wouldn't trade. The guy that I would probably search the market for and see if people need a solid pitcher would be Flaherty because you picked him up from another team. He rehabbed his Tommy Johns. He's pitching really well, and you have guys to replace him, whether it's a Matt Manning who came up and pitched well during the only game that they won after Torque drove that home run out of there. Or I guess if you really have to get rid of the Matt Manning, he won't get you nearly as much in a trade, but like Casey Mize is pitching well. I mean, you have 5 or 6 guys that can be starting pitchers on other teams. So if you can find someone that wants pitching, that can give up a 250 hitter. I mean, at this point, a 250 hitter is like top 3 on the team, I think. So if you can find someone that can hit home runs and bat 250, I mean, that you can't complain about it. You need something. It just stinks because that shortstop position is just never going to be open for the next 5 years because of Javi Baez filling that hole. And his defense has been fine, but that doesn't help you in any way when he's not hitting anything. He's swinging, 5 yards out of the strike zone at a ball that's in the dirt. Like I don't understand it.
Yeah. So, Adrian, the Tigers debuted their new jerseys as well since last stream. What did you think of the new unis?
Terrible. The new Connect uniforms. Not good. I was listening to the radio and they were talking about why people bashing on it. Not good. Like Tigers uniforms are classic, man. We were one of the few uniforms in the majors whose uniforms I think are just as fine. You don't need any alteration, any touches. The old English D, fine with me, man. I don't like all the extra stuff. And plus, they're just ugly. So.
Yeah, I mean, I saw when I watched the game, I didn't mind them in live action. They didn't look too terrible in live action. I guess the black and the blue is cool. I feel like they're kind of trying to feed off of like a Lions vibe, sort of I mean, it's a Motor City vibe, obviously, with the color of the Mustang and that blue, and then the black, obviously, for like asphalt around the city and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't think any City Connect jerseys really ever catch my eye. I mean, I like the Boston ones from a few years back, and there's like 1 or 2 that I like, but I think City Connects in general for baseball are just kind of bad. And same with basketball too. All those other jerseys they have, I don't think any of them are really that great. I don't know who's designing them. I see so many people online who create way better concepts than what actually get put out on the field. So, I mean, I don't love them, but I don't hate them. If like watching them live, I think it looks cool for like a change up. But like Adrian said, such a classic jersey, like try and keep the old English D on your uniform somehow. The hats look horrible. The hats do look bad. Hats look like something you buy out at a gas station, like in Detroit. Like it's like on the outskirts. It looks bad.
Yeah. I wasn't feeling those City Connect jerseys, man. Just stay with the vintage old English D, man. It's a classic. We put it on a jersey, a hat, just whatever. Just stay. I wasn't feeling those jerseys at all. So yeah, Tigers start a 3-game series at Arizona tomorrow, and Scoop will be on the mound. Lost Reid. Yeah, Scoop will be on the mound tomorrow. Oh yeah, we got back in here.
I don't know what happened there.
We got it. We back.
I had no clue what happened there. I had good connection too.
Oh, good. We back. All right. So yeah, wanted to move over to the Pistons. So the Pistons had the highest odds for the number of overall pick in the lottery the past 2 seasons. They end up with the 5th pick, Adrian. So why haven't the Pistons been able to have any success in the lottery?
Especially in a year where this considered one of the worst drafts in recent time they're comparing this to the 2000 draft with Kenyon Martin as the number 1 pick in that 2013 draft when Anthony Bennett, Giannis was in that draft. But my biggest thing with it is how the heck does a play-in team on the verge of being in the playoffs get the number 1 pick with a 3% chance? That is crazy. But with that being said, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theory, but my whole thing is on it right now. The Pistons front from owner to front office is so bad, and it has been bad, guys, since what? We made the playoffs twice since Chauncey and Ben and company left. We've been so bad. There's been so many coaches, so many turnovers. Troy's done a horrible job. The league does not want to give the Pistons any credit by giving them the number one pick. They gave us our number one pick and getting Cade Cunningham, and that was all we were going to get. Last year, I feel like we really got screwed. This year, I'm kind of just like, I mean, even if we would have got it, what are we going to do? They're in a no-win territory right now. Cade's extension is coming up. I just don't know what to do. I think at the end of the day, I think the league somehow, some way needs to step in and make Gore sell the team and start over, and pretty much because this franchise is going nowhere right now. We're already in a situation right now where they're trying to hire a president of basketball operations, which would be Troy Weaver's boss, but then they're talking about how that guy may fire Troy Weaver. So we're going to fire him right before the draft, and then you're going to have no way to really scout the players. It's just a mess, man. It's just a mess. I just don't think the league wants to end the Pistons, something that they're going to probably botch again like they've been doing in recent times.
Yeah, the thing that I hated, well, like Adrian said, it stung last year when you didn't get Wemby, a generational talent. You saw how good he looked on the Spurs. I mean, again, we don't want to be conspiracy theorists, but there is something about, Popovich was on his way out potentially, and they wanted to keep him in. It looks good in San Antonio to have another generational guy there when you had Tim Duncan, David Robinson, looks good to have him there. They get 4 and 8 in the draft, which is crazy. The Pistons and Charlotte both fall when they had 2 of the worst records. It does kind of feel a little conspiracy theory-ish, but I just don't know what to say about the draft anymore. I mean, it's bad luck. Not saying Wemby would have been a franchise turner for sure, but you can't rely on the draft the whole time. You need to pick good players. I mean, if you look, there's players in drafts that they missed on that they could have picked, and it wasn't good. So. The one thing I don't like is people saying it's just his fault, or also them calling the Pistons a poverty franchise, where they have been a poverty franchise as of late. They also are a historic franchise with the bad boys going to work Pistons, 2 of the greatest playoff teams of all time. Yeah, I mean, Cade's extension's coming up. My scariest thing, a lot of talk been going on in Detroit sports radio, is that they're gonna, Cade's gonna sign his extension and then say, "Hey, I want to be traded." That would break my heart if that happened. I don't think he's going to do that because I think he likes being here. I think he kind of wants to solidify a legacy in a town. If he does leave, I can't blame him for it because, yeah, like Adrian said, they're trying to hire a new president and then maybe fire Troy Weaver or give him one more year. But if you give him one more year, it's kind of going backwards. So I think ultimately you need to trade one of the key guys other than Cade. You need to trade Duran, or Ivy or Asar or a combination of those guys and make this team better. And you're going to have to spend a lot of that money. I mean, you already have to spend 90% of it due to the cap rules and NBA. I mean, they have $60 million, so they have to spend, 50 million of it on guys. So build your roster with that. Hopefully get some spacing for Cade. My new thing that I've been saying to all my friends is hold the league hostage. You got put in this situation at 5 and this draft stinks. Hold him hostage and draft Bronny James and make LeBron or the Lakers give you a king's ransom, literally King James ransom for Bronny if he wants to play with him in LA, or force his hand and come here and make some of the all-stars around the league try and come here and join up with him, because that's literally all you can do at this point. Like, you just have to play the villain and going to help you. I know that another thing they were saying is that Arm Tellum's son is a representative for Matisse Brazelis, so they're going to draft him, which is a guy that I like. But if the team was in a different situation, I would be fine with them taking him. But they're not in that different situation. So ultimately, I think it should be, I think it should just be draft Bronny at 5 or hold the league hostage and try and get pieces around Cade. I mean, Bronny's stock, I think, is rising a slight amount because he's been doing well in the combine. He's just small. He can shoot, play good defense. But when you're 6'1" and playing in the NBA, that's kind of a tough go around. Today, it's a little bit easier as it would have been in the past. But yeah, it's almost like you're lost in the river with no paddle. It's like it's a tough spot to be in. It really is, and it stinks because I hate all the hate that the Pistons are getting when they have been one of the only good things that have been happening here in Detroit. So There's no way out of this at this point. It's bad. It's dead ends wherever you turn.
So Adrian, would you take Bronny James with that 5th pick?
No, I wouldn't take Bronny James with the 5th pick. I like what Reid saying, but LeBron will retire before he decides that he's ever going to step foot in Little Caesars as a home player. It's not gonna happen.
I don't think he would, but he would move heaven and earth to get Bronny out of Detroit to play with him. He wants to play with Bronny. I don't think he would retire before that happened. If it came down to it, he would be like, all right, well, I'll just have to see him, whenever. But I ultimately think if you do draft him, whether it's at 5 or it's with your 2nd round pick or you move up in the 1st round to get him, I do ultimately think that he would do whatever he could to try and play with Bronny. And if it's coming here and playing, he would want to. He may bite that bullet, but I don't know if that would be the case. That would be like last resort.
Well, Adrian, realistically, with that 5th pick, who do you think the Pistons should take?
I mean, the guy they don't. I've got to look more into the draft class. It's just so bad. I mean, me preferably, I'm a big Stephon Castle guy, the guy out of UConn, because I feel like he can do everything. But there's no like true shooter in this draft class. Even the guy they really want, Sar's probably gonna go none. Or Ricochet. A lot of foreign guys. Zealous Reed's guy, he shoots like 28% from 3.
So he was shooting better than that before, though. I will defend him on that. He was shooting better than 28, and Ricochet too was also a guy that was lights out at 3 and shot really bad this past season from 3. I think he was 32% or something like that. So, I mean, they're shooters, but I get what you're saying.
Me personally, you guys, like at this point, I just don't. The Pistons really need is a wing player like a Paul George kind of prototype, like a Kawhi Leonard prototype guy who can play defense and shoot. I mean, we have a Sor Thompson Reed's guy, but I'm not buying into the shooting. If anything, I think the most realistic thing would be the Pistons might have to trade Jaden Ivey. So, you've been hearing rumblings that they're going to go after Tobias Harris, Miles Bridges. Yeah, it's just there's no direction. There's no cohesion in this front office. Troy literally has no idea what he's doing.
Yeah, I think ultimately they're just going to sit at 5 and take Brazellus and try and get guys in free agency. But you're going to have a team of a bunch of young guys. I'm fine with trading Jaden Ivey. I've preached that a lot on this podcast and to other friends of mine. A guy that I think that you could see on the trading block potentially if they want to make a big move would be Duran. I would hate to see it, but he really gives you basically what a Klingon or an Edey's going to give you, where he's just a post player really, and he's points and rebound. He's Drummond. He's basically what you had in Drummond, and that's all he offers you. There's teams that would like to have that have shooting on the outside, but you could trade Duran and maybe get another center or trade up and get Edey in the draft like later, but you would have to give up a lot, which is fine. But yeah, ultimately I think you have to trade Ivey to a point guard needy team. I've said the Spurs would be a good team to go after and try and get Ivey and package something with Ivey to get Vassell, because Vassell is a good 3 player that you could use that can shoot and score. I still like Asar. I mean, if they get rid of him, I understand it. But if he can develop his shot, he's definitely that Kawhi type that Adrian was talking about. He can play. He can guard 1s, 2s, 3s, and all the way up to 4s. So he's a great defensive player. That shooting is just the thing that really doesn't give me. The one thing I will say, or the last thing I'll say about I'm fine if they draft Castle, I guess. The only thing that happens there, if you draft Castle, you have to trade Ivey, because Castle's going to he's going to play the Ivey role, but it's going to be better because Ivey can't really shoot the ball that well, and his defense is not great. Stephon Castle, I think, is a little bit better. I just don't want him to take another guard in this draft, to be honest with you. I think that's just
if the other 2 guys, real quick guys, before we move on, it would either be Dalton Connect, the guy, the Tennessee SEC Player of the Year. I think is really good. He's ready to play now. He can shoot. He scored over 20 points a game at Tennessee. And then you got possibly Ron Hollins out of G League Ignite. But those are wing players who improving the score.
But I'll be more shoot either.
Yeah, I know it's a problem, but he's a little more athletic. I think I've seen his jump shot. I like it a little more than what Asor's giving me right now. But Dalton Connect, I think, would be a guy I'll be on the lookout for. I'm a big fan of his game. I like what he's done. He's been in college a while, so I think that's a guy you look out for. They need a guy right now who is ready to come in and make a difference. We don't have time to sit here and draft another guy and wait. Cade is already we talked about extension eligible. Like, we don't have time. Like, if you don't get this right and you continue to mess this up, guess what's going to happen? We're going to lose Cade for nothing, or we're going to have to force to trade him because he can at any point in time say he wants to be traded. And then guess what? We're starting from the bottom. Troy already depleted the second-round picks and all the assets. But what do the Pistons have right now, realistically?
They still owe Nick. I think they still owe the Knicks a first-round pick at some point. So
it's
like,
I really thought he was going to come in here and make a difference, and he has just completely turned into Matt Millen of basketball version. So it's like, what do you do? This might be the most helpless franchise and the most like worst situation in sports right now. And I'm not just saying that because we're all from Detroit, but just look at it, how bad it is.
I saw something that said the Spurs were going to use 4 and 8. They were going to take either Reid Shepard or the point guard out of Kentucky, Dillingham. Yeah, Dillingham. And then at 8, they were going to take Connect. And I said, if that's what the Spurs do, that team's going to be scary. They'll probably be a playing team there because Connect is older. He's 23, but he can still shoot. He can play defense well. He's a bigger body. Like, Dillingham can facilitate the ball to Wemby. It would be crazy. But yeah, I don't know. It's such a dark situation.
Yeah, Spurs are going to be a fun team to watch moving forward, especially if they hit on both those lottery picks this season. All right, let's see. David said Pistons should take Zach Edey with that 5th pick.
I mean, hey, you can't get much worse than what I mean, if they do, it is what it is. But I wouldn't like it. But that's me.
Yeah, no way you taking Zach Edey at 5, and then you already got a center in Durham. It just wouldn't make sense. All right, so yeah, stick with the NBA. Nuggets, Timberwolves tonight. Game 6. So Reid, do the Nuggets do they end it tonight? Do the Nuggets win the series tonight in Minnesota?
Yeah, I think they do close it out. I mean, the Timberwolves are playing great to begin with, but I think the Nuggets just ended up getting a fire lit under their ass, and they said, "Hey, we're better than this. We're a better team." I think we were taking a little too easy on them. We thought that we could dog walk them and be fine like we did with the Lakers, but then Ant Edwards just showed up and absolutely dominated the scene. Cat's playing well. Rudy Gobert didn't play game 2, and they still won. So he hasn't been great even since they came back. But I think it's just at this point, I think the Nuggets are just too well-rounded of a team, and the Timberwolves don't have the depth that can fight with the Nuggets.
Speaking of that, since you just brought that up, the game is about to tip any minute now. I was gonna agree with Reid. Jokic has been on a tear right now, but I just feel like somehow, some way, Minnesota gets one last ditch effort, get everything they got, and they get this to a game 7 and ultimately lose in Denver. But the way Jokic has been playing right now, they got down 2-0, 0-2, and everybody was saying that they were done for. Stephen A was saying the Timberwolves are going to win a championship. Like, relax. Even I love Anthony Edwards because he's saying, don't compare me to Michael Jordan. Just ease his way into it. He's only 22 years old, and I told you guys he would become a superstar. And he, even if they lose this series, he has showed me more than enough that he has the capabilities to be the next face of the NBA and the next superstar. But I do believe Minnesota finds a way to pull this game out tonight, and it's still a game 7 where Denver ultimately wins in a good one. But this has been a good series. This proves you Jokic is the best player in the NBA, and there's no question about it. Defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert once again. Jokic is just toying with him and getting what he wants, wherever he wants, whenever he wants. And I do believe I picked preseason guys. I had Nuggets, Celtics, and I'm still sticking with the Nuggets to repeat as NBA champions.
Okay, yeah, I like Minnesota tonight. I think this game, this series just smells 7 games, just 2 juggernauts, Western Conference juggernauts. I think it's 7. I think Minnesota wins tonight, but I think Denver ultimately wins the series. So.
It's in Denver tonight, right? Or is it back in Minnesota?
Minnesota. Mike Conley is playing tonight too. He's back.
Yeah,
about 5 minutes from tip-off.
Yeah. I think Minnesota's going to throw the whole kitchen sink at them tonight. I think they're going to make it back to Denver.
Are we moving off NBA or?
Yeah, no, I was going to go to the Knicks and Pacers tomorrow. Okay. Knicks up 3-2. Do the Knicks close it out tomorrow, Reid? That's in Indiana.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that one goes to 7. I know Brunson's been playing with his hair on fire, but I think the Pacers still have a little bit of fight left in them. They've looked a little sloppy defensively, which they have all year, but I mean, they picked it up in the playoffs. I think they don't want to go down that easy. It's going to be a slugfest, a high scoring game, but ultimately I think Halliburton's going to get his wheels underneath him. I think guys like what they need to do is they need to have Naismith on Jalen Brunson. They showed a stat earlier that Jalen Brunson was scoring 30% less of the time when Naismith is on him. So I think they need to change their whole route defensively. You can't have McCollum or I can't think of the other guy's name who normally guards Brunson, but you can't have those two guys on him. If you lock Brunson down, you'll beat the Knicks easily, and I think that Carlisle's going to flip the game plan around. They're going to end up holding him to 25 points, but yeah, I think when he goes to Indiana, Brunson doesn't play nearly as well as he does in New York, obviously.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Like Raaj said about the last series. This smells like 7 games to me. Indiana will win tomorrow. They're 10-0 their last 10 home games. They're a completely different team at home than on the road. And then, like you talked about, no way you can go into the Garden and be this bad. The problem is Tyrese Halliburton, Game 5, decides to shoot the ball 9 times. That is their best player. When he's aggressive, they're much better. And then when you switch to matchup, Nembhard does not need to guard Jalen Brunson. It needs to be, like Reid said, Neesmith, even try Siakam, try anybody. But the key is get the ball out of Brunson's hands. Make everybody else beat you. I can live with the series if Josh Hart and DiVincenzo and everybody else is beating me. Make it tough for Brunson. He's going to score. He's going to get his points. But make it completely tough for him. Get the ball out of his hands. I don't care what you need to do. But then also – this is terrible for the fact that the Knicks are playing 7 guys right now, so the Pacers should have no excuse.
At like 40 minutes apiece. They're like almost playing the whole game.
And are just got blasted in Game 5. There's no reason. That's like, for me, that shows signs of a immature team emotionally and physically, because they don't understand situation. They don't understand circumstances. Tyrese Halliburton needs to show me something these next 2 games.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Pacers win the next one. I think it's going 7. I think the Knicks are going to win it, but when they go up against Boston, they're not going to have enough. Just those 7 guys. The injury bug has just plagued them. Anunoby, Bogey,
Randall. Even though he hasn't played all
Randall,
season. OG.
Yeah,
OG.
They're just not going to have enough to deal with.
The Pacers. Yes, the Pacers are still giving up 120.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
It's crazy. So. It seems like in the playoffs this year, everybody caught the injury bug. Kawhi, Giannis, Dame, Zion, the Knicks,
Ingram.
It's been bad. Yeah, at the worst time.
Yeah.
During the playoffs, can you call guys up from the G League during the playoffs? Or
no. I think the deadline is like close to the end of the season.
Yeah, you got to pull them up on the active roster by a certain day.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they might want to bend that rule because the Knicks got 8 active players?
Well, they can't bend the rule. Thibodeau just has to stop playing his guys for 40 minutes a game every game, and they won't get hurt. Thibodeau is
not doing that.
Runs his guys into the ground. That's what happened with Mitchell Robinson. That's what happened with Julius Randle. I'm surprised Josh Hart's still there. He's been playing like every minute of every game for the last 50 games. It's been crazy.
That's what happened with Tibbs, was the coach in Chicago with Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah and Luol Deng and Jimmy.
He ruined my favorite player's career.
Yeah. Had him in the game up 20 in the first round against Philly, and he tore his ACL, and that's all she wrote.
Dumb.
Yeah.
Ruined one of the greatest primes of all time.
Yeah. Former Piston Alec Burks had 5 threes in that game the other night, too. Lit him up. So. All right, last thing on the NBA. Saturday, you got the Thunder at the Mavs. Dallas up 3-2. Reid, does Dallas close the Thunder out this Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, they've been shocking everybody, I think. I know. I mean, Shea's been playing well. The supporting cast has been okay, but not great. I think they held him to under 100 points in like 4 of the games that they've played, or 3 of the games that they've played. Dallas's defense has been unreal. I mean, you've said it before. I love the saying. I think OKC is a little wet behind the ears still, and I think they have time to grow. But I ultimately think Dallas does close it out. I think they're going to fight. I think OKC is going to fight hard, but I think Luka and Kyrie are just ready to say, I'm ready to get this over with. I want to see the Nuggets or the Timberwolves, whoever we got to fight, whoever we got to play. Let's win this game out and get a little bit of rest and go into the Western Conference Finals with a good roster, a good healthy roster. So I think they do close it out.
I agree. Dallas finds a way. Reid's cousin Luca finds a way to get this done. He's been phenomenal in the games they win. He's great in the games they don't win. He's not good. Kyrie's got to continue to be a little more aggressive. Like I talked about before the playoffs, I don't believe in this OKC team. They played a really banged up Pelicans team. They're getting tested. They're gonna be good in the future, but it's Shea right now and everybody else. He scored up 30 last night, and nobody else gave more than 13 or 15 points. So it's just not gonna cut it. And this Dallas team, I am telling you, when they want to play defense, they can play defense, man. They have been locking up in that we got Reid cut out again. That versatility of Lively and Gafford has worked phenomenal for Jason Kidd and company. Sorry, Reid, we'll continue.
Yeah, no, I heard you. I heard it. I heard it. I can still hear it.
So that lineup by Jason Kidd, he's done a great job in Dallas right now. Dallas is gonna make the Western Conference Finals, I believe, and play Denver. So we'll be excited.
Yeah, I'll play devil's advocate here. I think this is going 7, and I like OKC. I like OKC. Me personally, I think OKC matches up a little better with Denver. What do y'all think?
No.
Yeah.
Shay's having a hard time right now trying to stop Lively and Gafford. You know what Jokic is going to do to him? He's going to eat.
Not only that, you know what Aaron Gordon and MPJ and Jamal Murray would do to him if he had to guard one of those guys too. That's like, yeah, I think it would be a nightmare situation if they went up against the Nuggets. I think that'd be the easier route for the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Yeah, Denver and Minnesota is just about to. There we go. Tip. There we go. We're off and running.
Do you guys want to do the topic that I sent of your top, the most talented people left in the playoffs right now?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
You want me to kick it off because I do have my list in front of me. So
yeah, I'm just gonna wing it.
So my top guys, if we're just doing 5, most talented left players. I think Kyrie is up there, although he's been a little lackluster, but he is the veteran and you've seen what he can do in the past in the playoffs. I think he's there. This one was hard. I kind of did it as like a positional group. I put Ant over Shea as most talented because I do think Ant has showed flashes of being way more talented. He's had a few slumpish games, but I think he shows you when he can go off for 40. He's gone off for 40, I think, 2 times in this or close to 2 times. I think he had 35 and he's had 42 or 44. So I'll put Ant at 2. I think Luka at 3. I think he's the most talented. Tatum, I would still put up there. As much as Boston has choked in the past, he's gone to 6 of the last 7 Eastern Conference Finals. And then Joker, I would put it at my 5. So that's not ranking them 1 through 5, and that I just did it positionally. So point guards, shooting guard, everything like that. I just did it position. If you want to do 1 through 5, I understand it, but I think those are the top 5 most talented guys left. Shea and Ant were close because Shea is a phenomenal player. I just think Ant is offering more to his team than Shea is at this point.
If we're going talented, not best, it's kind of tough if we're wording it like that. I'm gonna leave the Joker off the list. I don't think Joker is talented. I just think he's very skilled. I think it's a big difference. That's how I'm looking at it. So there's no shade towards Joker because I believe he's the best player in the NBA. But if we're talking about most talented, I'm gonna go no order, guys. I'm gonna go SGA, Anthony Edwards, Kyrie Irving, Jason Tatum, and I'm gonna go Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown,
no Luka.
Brown, really?
Yeah.
Over Brunson too.
Yeah.
Wow, I would not have expected that, man. That is a shocker. I would have put Brunson over Brown because Brown has historically, in my opinion, not been great.
Honestly, I feel like Jaylen Brown's played a lot better than Jason Tatum in these playoffs.
I don't know about that. He played just pretty bad yesterday and like 2 games ago. He was pretty bad the last 2 games. Hey,
Brown's been balling.
I respect it. I think yesterday he had I
know in the comments they're gonna try to crush me and say, "Where's Luka? Where's Jokic?" I'm talking about talented. I could argue Kyrie would be number 1 on my list of the most talented guys, him or Anthony Edwards, because his ball handling, his shooting is off the charts, man.
I can't believe Luka wasn't on there. That's the most shocking thing to me. I can respect the Joker thing, but having Jaylen Brown over Luka is wild to me. Wild.
Yeah, we know Reid don't tolerate the Luka disrespect. We know that.
I'm a Luka fan. I like Luka a lot.
like I saw earlier, Luke has been playing a lot more hands up and a lot more hands over than as of late. He's been complaining a lot less to the refs and shooting the ball
he didn't
a lot better.
Notice he didn't complain last night, and guess what happened? He played well. Stop worrying about the ref.
I think he's going to start doing that. I'm sorry, I'm shook by the Brown thing. I don't know. I don't know if I can continue this podcast. I might be out now, boys. Shocking.
Oh man.
By the way, Denver's up 9-2. First time out with 9:01 left. 9-2 Denver.
Okay. Before we move off the NBA, you think the Celtics will come off Jaylen Brown for that 5th pick and Ivy or Stewart or?
Nah, not a fat chance.
No, and he also just got paid, so he got that big contract.
Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, they want to switch it over to the NFL. But before we do that, let's see. DC says, do you guys think that the NFL players can play in the NBA and vice versa?
I had this conversation not too long ago.
I'll make it short and simple because I'm not going to get into a debate. Certain guys, there's a certain niche of guys in each sport who could transition. Not everybody can do it, so we're not going to have the conversation about who's better, and who's better. The NBA is more skilled, the NFL is more physical. So I just think the conversation people are trying to have is a little ridiculous. Austin Rivers started this whole thing. Then Ryan Clark was going back and forth with Austin Rivers. Then James Jones and Austin Rivers are beefing former Packers receivers. It's just crazy.
It's almost like the Mendenhall. Was it Rashad Mendenhall who did the white versus black NFL team? Yeah. It's kind of like that debate at this point. But I ultimately, like Adrian said, I think it's kind of a niche set of guys that would go either way. I think if you give them both training, let's say you give them both a year's worth of training, I think the NBA guys would translate better to the NFL just because they're so athletic. I mean, obviously pads are different, and it would be harder for an NBA player or NFL player to learn NBA, skill sets versus an NFL player. Like you can probably put LeBron up. I mean, let's say I won't give a 38-year-old LeBron right now, but you could line LeBron up 10 years ago as a tight end. He'd probably do fine in the NFL. Like that's a situation. I think there's a lot of guys out there in the NBA that if you gave them a year's worth of like training, they can do some sort of like smaller role as like a tight end or maybe like a defensive like edge rusher or something like that or a corner. But ultimately I think it's just kind of a fine line, and it's too hard to really equate one to the other. Like Adrian said, they're both great in their own respects, but you'll never know. It's just it's two different things. It's oranges and apples.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think some NBA guys could definitely transition to the NFL, but yeah, NBA just takes a certain skill set. It's not really a lot of things you can't learn, like Kyrie's handles. You can't just go in the gym and just get that. And
that's why I said the year. You couldn't give someone a year and they learn how to play like Kyrie. You could not do that.
Or that's God given. That's God given.
A year from the NFL and they could shoot like Steph or Clay. Like you couldn't give any of that. You know what I mean? Like or a guy like it doesn't translate that way. And they showed like clips of Myles Garrett going and dunking and all that stuff. It's like he's playing against dudes like Lifetime Fitness. Like he's not. Like he's not out here.
Wasn't Micah Parsons the celebrity All-Star Game MVP or something?
Have you seen some of it? Have you seen some of the like the celebrity? The most famous one is Chad Ochocinco saying he beat LeBron one-on-one. Have you guys seen that video? He said he beat LeBron one-on-one. He said he's beat multiple NBA players one-on-one, and then they show the video of him trying to score 10 points against Ron Artest, and he scores 1 point against Ron Artest. And it's like, there's no way that this, like, it just doesn't, it doesn't correlate. I do think, like I said, NBA, you could translate with a year of training versus the other way.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of NBA players could play in the NFL because I think a lot of the NFL is a mindset as well. So these guys are already crying about getting smacked and hit. A lot of these guys will not be able to withstand playing 95 degrees with humidity and training camp for 2-3 weeks with pads on it. You can be athletic all you want, but as we all know, guys, once you put those pads on, it's different.
Absolutely. So sticking with football, the Lions, they gave Jared Goff the contract extension, 4 years, $212 million, $170 guaranteed. So Adrian, what did you think about Goff resetting the market like this?
I love it, man. I wish if people are complaining about how much money he got, but let's be realistic. If the Lions would have decided to pay him last year, which they probably should have, they would have saved $50 million. But that's just the way the business goes. I know Reid's probably going to differ from me because we've talked about it. But Giving him 73 million, 170 guaranteed. He got 73, I believe, at signing bonus, which is the biggest in NFL history. But let's be realistic. The cap's going up by 10%. Tua's next to get paid. So the quarterback dominoes is going to keep falling. Goff's only going to take up 18%. They locked up their guys. He's got them for 4 years. This is one of the best quarterbacks the Lions have had in their recent franchise history, along with Stafford. The Super Bowl window is open now, so you got to pay your guys, and I love that they're going for it, man. Take these next 3-4 years to go for it, because as we know in football, that window closes real quick. And then when Goff's contract is up, he's still playing. Will only be, I believe, 32 or 33 years old. So I like it. I love it, honestly.
Yeah, he'll be close to that. He's 20. He'll be 29 when the season starts, I believe. Or he just turned 29, something like that.
33.
He's my age.
33.
Yeah, he's my age. So, which makes me feel sick. But either way, I think. I mean, you say that we differ. I don't. After I had time to marinate on it and sit around, I mean, it's not egregious. Obviously, they overpaid because they wanted to keep the guy around, and and Goff's team knew that it's a business. I get it. Did I want a hometown discount as a fan? Yeah, absolutely. But I didn't know. I didn't expect anything that I didn't think I was going to get it. He's not Tom Brady or some of these guys that do that. So the crazy thing is that you look at the Mahomes contract. Granted, it was 10 years, but he's getting paid $45 a year, and they converted some of that. And you just have a guy like that on that such a great deal is crazy. But like Adrian said, I mean, you have guys like Jordan Love's going to be up for contract. Tua's up for contract, which I actually don't think he's going to get extended by the Dolphins. I ultimately think if they don't do anything this year, I think he's going to get traded. But you have guys like Stroud. I mean, that's a few years down the road. But you have Stroud's going to come and get paid. Like a few of these guys are Herbert just re-signed, and by the halfway through this contract, he's going to get re-signed because it'll be his new contract will be over. So guys are going to get paid. The cap always goes up. I like how it goes. It depreciates over the next 4 years. It only goes down after this, doesn't go up, which I like because it was front loaded. So that's fine. Yeah, they paid to get their guy. Could they have gotten this done for $50 million or $49 million a year earlier in the year? Probably, but I think that they waited because they wanted to sign Sewell and St. Brown, and they have other guys coming up. So it's not horrible. You got your guy. Ultimately, I've talked to you guys about it before. I hope that they go into the draft and they in the next 2 years and they draft, a kind of a guy that can sit around and do a Jordan Love or a Patrick Mahomes situation. And then that back into Goff's contract, if you're not liking what he's giving you, you have a guy that had sat for 2 years and can come out and can play and do good. So will that happen? I don't know, but I just think ultimately that's the way of the NFL now. You have to draft a guy and hopefully have a team around him. So I don't hate it. Everybody doesn't like it because Goff's not mobile. That's the way of the world now, that it's all mobile quarterbacks in the NFL. So he's going to help you win. He took you to an NFC championship game last year. Probably should have won it. But I think they're just going to try and repeat. And you had to pay the guy what you had to pay the guy. I can't complain about it, to be honest with you, anymore.
If you got a quarterback, you got a quarterback, man. You can't complain. There's a lot of teams in this league who need a quarterback. Along with my Steelers.
Adrian, Before Russ and Fields, like, who did you have? Like, you would have killed for a guy like Goff if he would have played 100%. As well as he could. There's 32 jobs in the NFL, and he took one of them. Like, it's you paid him for what it's worth, and you gave him the money. Like, I don't think it was a waste or anything like that. You got to see how the caps pans out over the next couple of years, but yeah, it just you bite the bullet when you bite the bullet. That's what it is.
And let's be realistic, real quick, before we move off. The cap is made up. These teams find ways to maneuver the cap and do all these crazy things when the window's open. So I like I said, I love to move the line. So good job of getting it done before the season starts.
Yeah, he was just the next guy up. The next guy that gets his contract, he's going to reset the market anyway. So he has highs right now.
Tua, Reid.
You said Tua?
Reid is not a Tua guy, but Tua is about to get it back.
I was a Tua guy. I still am a Tua guy. I like Tua. I think Tua is great. I just think that he gets a bad rap because he was concussed 8 times last year when the Dolphins hung him out to dry after he got his head slammed into the ground, and they still threw him out there. So I like Tua. I think Tua is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. I just think that left-handed quarterbacks is tough because people, always overpay for them. And I ultimately think if they don't get it done and they either don't make the playoffs or they lose in the playoffs, I don't think Tua gets extended. That's all.
Reid, who would you rather have at quarterback, Kyler Murray or Tua?
I probably like Kyler because he's less of a concussion injury, and I know it's tough, but he's less of a concussion injury. He can still throw the ball, and he's a lot more mobile than Tua is. So I personally would take Kyler, even though he's a small person, but
it's tough.
As of right now, I would take.
I probably lean a little towards Kyler. I probably lean a little more towards Kyler.
He's younger too.
It's
tough. It's a tough question. I mean, I like Tua a lot. I think Tua behind the Detroit Lions offensive line could be great. Like, I'm not saying I would trade him for God. They could have. They also could have drafted Justin Herbert, dude. They didn't do that either. I don't want to talk about it, okay? I have enough bad taste in my mouth about bad drafts. They could have had Aaron Donald, too, or Odell Beckham in his prime.
Hey, you think about the Steelers drafting Kenny Pickett. That's all I can – Kenny Pickett, Jarvis Jones. I could go to Artie Burns. I could keep going. So, trust me. We've had
the Kenny Pickett one was weird because that was, like, so much pressure.
That
was almost like the Ivy – that was almost like the Ivy pick, I feel like, because Ivy was, like, kind of a hometown kid in the sense where, granted, Kenny Pickett went to Pitt and didn't grow up, but he – like Ivy, like grew up kind of in Detroit because of his mom, and he has ties here. His dad played with the Lions. Like, I feel like they're the same type of pick because Kenny Pickett went to Pitt, and everybody wanted him because he went to Pitt, and then he just flamed out. And I feel like Ivy's kind of the same way. Yeah,
I mean, this Pittsburgh in the draft that year, they were between a rock and a hard place after Big Ben retired. I think the top two quarterbacks in the draft was what, Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis. So I mean, it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, Mac Jones is in that class. Trey Lance, Zach Wilson. It wasn't a good class.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, let's get into the NFL schedule release. Schedule release was yesterday. Reid, go ahead, pull that line schedule up for us. Let's get into that.
All right. So, do you want me to give the records? How do you want me to do this then?
You can go through it real quick. Let's give us the primetime game.
Oh, the primetime games. I got to search up something else for that. So have Adrian go first then. I thought I had it up. But
I got the primetime games. Okay. I mean, yeah, just go through the schedule.
So I'll go through the schedule. I'll go through the schedule. So it's start the season. It's the Rams. That's a primetime game. That's Sunday night. I know that. I do think they beat the Rams because that's at home, obviously. I think that they're going to win again. Mm-hmm. I think that, obviously the Rams are a good team. They drafted my guy Jared Verse and Braden Fisk out of Florida State. I think that's going to be a pretty dirty offensive line, but the O-line of the Lions, I think, will beat it.
And got Blake Corum.
Yeah, and got Blake Corum. Yeah, exactly. So,
Blake.
I ultimately think they'll still beat them. They just, they upgraded at corner. That was the thing. They let Puka torch them last season. So I think they will win that game. You have the Bucs again. So two back-to-back repeat playoff games. I think they beat the Bucs as well. I just don't think the Bucs have the firepower to get the job done. I think they beat the Cardinals. The Cardinals are in the midst of a rebuild. A hated enemy of mine. They play the Seattle Seahawks in Week 4.
That Seahawks game is Monday Night Football.
Yeah, it's Monday Night Football at home. I think they have a bad taste in their mouth from last season when they lost and that overtime loss. I think the Lions only got better. The Seahawks, you still don't know what you're getting with Geno. Their defense is good, but that offense still is up in the air. I think that they win that. So I say start 4-0. They have the bye week, Week 5, which I absolutely despise. I don't like early bye weeks for teams because injuries, plague you, and you get that early bye week, whether your team's most likely going to be healthy for the first 4 weeks. I would like it at Week 9 or maybe 8, but you get what you get. So bye week. Get the revenge game at Dallas. This was the one I kind of had I let my brain kind of think, okay, I hate Dallas. They're going to beat Dallas. I still think that they can beat Dallas. They just need to clean up their game. It is at Jerry's World. They just need to clean it up from last season, but I think everybody has a chip on their shoulder knowing they should have won that game. I think Dan Campbell's going to be a little bit smarter. I think they beat Dallas. I think they beat the Vikings because the Vikings are kind of in the midst of a rebuild. You don't know what's going on at quarterback there. Offensive line's a little shaky. Defense is a little shaky. I think they win that. I think they win against the Titans. So as of right now, they're winless. So what is that? 7-0, I think I have. 1, 2, 3. That's 7-0.
Okay.
7-0. This is where it starts. They're at Green Bay November 3rd. November is a colder time. It could be a cold game there at Lambeau. I think they ultimately lose that one to Green Bay at home. Jordan Love's playing good. Green Bay's a good team. The defense is good. This is where it gets bad again. They're at Houston. Houston is a team.
Sunday Night Football in that game.
Yep, Sunday Night Football.
That's a good one, boys. We gotta get together and watch that one.
Absolutely. I know Houston is a great team, very young. They just added Stephon Diggs. The defense is solid. D'Amico Ryans killed it as the coach last year. As much as I hate to say it, I think that they'll end up losing it because it's just in Houston's home turf. Lions fans do travel, but it is what it is. Then they play Jacksonville at home. And Jacksonville, I think, is kind of in a weird stretch. I think they can go anywhere from 8 wins to 10 wins. They could be somewhere along there. But ultimately, I think they beat Jacksonville. I don't think Jacksonville has enough star power to line up against the Lions and go there and beat them. I think the Lions' defense is going to be a lot better. And I think Jacksonville's defense can't hold the Lions' offense. So I think they win that. Indy, another tough one. Indy has a great defense. We don't know what Anthony Richardson is. So mobile quarterbacks, we always struggle against them. But I think that we also picked up 2 corners that are great. And I think the secondary is a lot better. I think they can hold against the Colts, and they can beat the Colts. So right now that's 2 losses and 10 wins?
Yeah.
That's right. Another one that
no, that'd be 11 wins, wouldn't it?
1, 2, 3.
You got them losing to only Green Bay, correct?
6, 7, 8.
No, Green Bay and Houston.
Be-
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
Green Bay and Houston. Green Bay and Houston. I have them losing to Green Bay and Houston. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9 wins, 2 losses right now. So 11 games.
Okay.
So they play Chicago at home.
That's
Rookie
Thanksgiving.
quarterback, Thanksgiving game. Historically, they're bad on Thanksgiving, but I think it changes. I think it turns around. I think they beat Chicago at home because it's rookie quarterback Caleb Williams. They play Green Bay at home. I think they win that game. I'll keep that one short and sweet.
That's Thursday night football.
Thursday night. That's a quick turner. Yeah. That's a week. See, they still get a week for that game. So.
But I still think it's at home. I think they're going to be hungry. I think that they'll end up winning that game. I think they split with Green Bay here. They play Buffalo. This was one that I was also up in the air about. But I look back at it. Buffalo lost a lot of key players defensively and offensively. I think Josh Allen is a dangerous player, but they almost beat him in Thanksgiving with a real depleted team 2 years ago. So I think they beat Buffalo there. So there's what was that? Is that 13 wins now? No, that's not. So it's 9, 10, 11. So that's 12 wins. I think they lose at Chicago. I think Caleb Williams and Green Bay gets their bearings underneath them, and I think they lose at Chicago. So that's 3 losses. It's 3-13 as of right now. They go to San Francisco. I think they lose at San Francisco again just because it's at San Francisco. The time change. I think it's tough.
Okay.
And then you close with the Vikings. I think they beat the Vikings.
They got them going 13-4.
13-4. And I'll also put this asterisk next to it. I'll say 13-4 or 12-5, just depending on, you could lose one of those games up in the air. Like there's always one of those fluke games that you could lose to. So I think they win 12 to 13 games this season.
So Reid, you're pretty much saying they're going to win the division again.
I think so. Yeah, I think that it's going to be tougher, but I think that Green Bay will come in a close second, win probably somewhere around 11 games. But I think that they'll win the division again for sure.
I think Chicago's going to be a lot better than we think they're going to be.
That's why I had them splitting.
I think Chicago wins 7 or 8 games possibly this year. I can definitely see it.
I think they'll win 9.
I looked at Minnesota's schedule. I'm going to pull it up for you real quick. Just read you like the first 6 games because my brother's a huge Vikings fan. It's brutal, guys. It's brutal. It is. The first game I'll read you the first 5 games. They open on the road at the Giants. Then they host the 49ers. Then they host Houston. Then they travel to Green Bay, and then they host the Jets. Then they have the Lions at home. Then the Rams on the road. That's brutal. Those first 7 games that's brutal right there.
I gave them 2 wins, 5 losses. Arguably, could say 1 win because I could
argue depending on, I don't know if JJ's going to start her up the way. If he does, he'll play it sometime. I could argue that the Vikings may finish last in this division this year.
I think they will finish last in this division. And hot take right here, I think Justin Jefferson gets asked for a trade out of Minnesota.
When? During the season or after?
After the season. He has a contract he has a contract extension expected after the season. I think he gets traded after the season. Or demands.
If he doesn't sign that contract, then I can definitely see. But I think both sides find a way to get the deal done before.
He's gonna have to get. I bet you his team's gonna ask for $35 million a year.
AJ Brown got
AJ Brown got
84
32.
guaranteed, so he's probably asking for 90, 95.
Amon-Ra was the highest paid at 30 and a half, and then AJ Brown beat it at 32. So I think
I can see that.
We get 35 to 35, 37 maybe. I don't think it would go up to 37, but 35. Then I think Jamar Chase, who gets the contract extension the year after, goes for
39, 40.
Yeah, I don't know about that high, but 30, 36 and a half, 37.
Shout out Gabe in the building.
Shout out my brother-in-law, Gabe.
What's up, Gabe?
You guys met Gabe.
Appreciate you for tuning in.
You guys met him at the Pistons game?
Yeah, sure.
I'm looking at this Timberwolves game right now. It's 31-14. Minnesota up right now. They went on a 20-0 run after being down. So it's 31. They're up 31-14 at the end of the first.
Got to turn my girl off.
Minnesota's up?
Yep, Minnesota is up. Good call by us, Raaj, so far.
Yeah, for sure. All right, last one here. Axe says Campbell's handing at least 4 games away.
I think he's learned. A little bit.
Hey.
I think he's learned a little bit.
He won't hand those 4 games away when he signs that kid out of the Michigan Panthers that's hitting 65 yarders.
Yeah, well, he has to use him. He can't go for the 4th down all the time. He's going to have to actually use the guy.
Matt Prater 2.0.
Yeah. So, Adrian, go ahead, pull up the Steelers schedule for us. Go ahead and give us the Steelers schedule breakdown.
Let's go. This is perfect because I broke this whole schedule down yesterday, dropped a YouTube video on it. So I've done my research, and I know kind of what Reid's going to say, and I kind of looked over it and thought about it. Couple notes before we get to the schedule. Guys, the Steelers have the 3rd toughest schedule in the league this year, a .533 winning percentage from teams from 23. And then guess who has the 1 and 2 toughest schedules? The Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns. So they completely made our division already hard as it is and said, oh, you guys are going to play the toughest teams outside of the division. So that's a caveat for that. 4 primetime games for the Steelers and then 1 holiday game, the Thanksgiving game. So let's get it started. Week 1, they take on the Falcons, travel to Arthur Smith makes his return to Atlanta where he's fired from and takes on the Falcons. I say they find a way to win that game. Arthur Smith was able to run the football with the Falcons with Desmond Ridder as his quarterback. And Atlanta lost me a lot of money last year betting-wise, but Arthur Smith has better quarterback play, better just singularity together. So I believe that they'll win that game. Then one of the biggest games of week 2, probably the biggest. They travel to the Denver Broncos. Russell Wilson meets Sean Payton again. I believe the Steelers find a way. Russell Wilson lights the Broncos up and they get a victory. Put them in that 2-0. Now, week 3, first home game of the season. Take on Jim Harbaugh. And as we all know, Jim Harbaugh comes in and he changes teams around completely. I think this Charger team will be a lot better, but I believe the Steelers find a way to get this victory. Putting them at 3-0. I mean, traditionally, the Steelers do not start well in September, and they need to get out to a better start this season, especially with this first half of this schedule. Week 4, they travel to the Colts. Before they lost to the Colts last season, they were 8-0 in the previous 8 games against them. But I do believe the Steelers find a way to lose this game in a tight one. Anthony Richardson, I know he's going to be a star, but I think this is a tough one. I think the Steelers lose this game. Then, here we go. My favorite game of the week. I got to watch this game with you boys because I despise this team more than any team in the NFL, and that is Sunday Night Football. They host, yes, Dallas Cowboys, baby. And the Steelers will shut down Dak Prescott and company. They will win. So it puts them at 4-1. Then week 6, travel to the Raiders. Antonio Pearson's first season as Raiders head coach. This has always been a tricky game for the Steelers in this playing the Raiders for whatever reason. I don't know why. Whether the Raiders are good or whether the Raiders aren't good. I believe they lose this game in a close one. Now, 2 more games before the bye week. Week 7, Sunday Night Football against the New York Jets. Now, we know the Jets got Aaron Rodgers back. Offensive line is old. Somebody's going to get hurt. Steelers are going to be at home. Pass rush is going to be heavy. I believe they get pressure on Aaron Rodgers, and they win this game. Then bounce back next week after Sunday Night Football. In week 8, you host the New York Giants on Monday Night Football. The last time we played the Giants I believe, was on Monday Night Football in the Meadowlands, and that was Big Ben coming back from the elbow surgery that he had. Daniel Jones isn't good, so I'm just going to say that. I know they got neighbors, but I believe the Steelers will beat the Giants team, and they go into the bye week at 6-2. Perfect bye week 9 that is the perfect time for a bye week. Last year, Reid, they had the bye week at week 6. This is a perfect time to reset, get guys healthy, get ready to go down the stretch. Come back week 10, you take on the Washington Commanders on the road. Jaden Daniels probably will be at the seat of the Washington Commanders. I believe the Steelers do win this game. Find a way to get to 7 wins.
Let me stop you right here. This is where it gets dirty. This is where it gets nitty gritty.
This is where it gets sticky.
Mm-hmm.
This is where it gets sticky from week 11 to week 18. This is where rubber meets the road. So we'll see. Now, traditionally, this hasn't happened before. They're gonna be playing their first division game week 11, and I believe that is November 21st. If I'm correct, the latest for any team since I believe the 70s. So they host the Baltimore Ravens, and normally the Steelers have won 4 of their last 6 against the Ravens. I believe they find a way to beat the Ravens at home. It'll be a close one that it usually is. We do a pretty good job against Lamar Jackson. Week 12 at the Browns. This is a quick turnaround Thursday night football. I believe we played the Browns Thursday night football last year and we lost, and I believe we do lose this game. Then turn right back around a week and 10 days later, we travel to Cincinnati to take on Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. We had the luxury of not having to play Joe Burrow last year as he had the surgery on his wrist. So I believe we do lose this game. Then we go turn around week 14 and we host the Cleveland Browns. I believe we do find a way to win this one at home. I don't know what we're going to get from Deshaun Watson. Nick Chubb's knee was in 17 different places after that injury. But I believe this Cleveland Browns defense will be good. The team will be good, but I believe the Steelers find a way to get this win. Woo! Now we're heading on to week 15. This is where it gets sticky. Week 15 at the Philadelphia Eagles. I believe the Steelers find a way to get this win. Then 6 days later, quick turnaround. You go to Baltimore to play the Ravens. I believe that's a loss. It's tough. Then 4 days later, you turn around and you host the Kansas City Chiefs on Christmas Day. Yes, in the middle of the week. And guys, it's not a Monday night game. It's not a Thursday night game. It's a Wednesday game. Come on, NFL. What are we doing?
Yeah.
I want to enjoy
the
Christmas. I want to enjoy my Christmas, chatting up guys, hanging with the fellas, hanging with the family. But guess what? Now I got to stress and watch the Steelers, and I believe we do lose this game. So then turn right back around, close the season out, and host the Bengals, which I believe we get that victory. And I believe we split the division games 3-3 because Baltimore and Cleveland has a gauntlet as well. So if we can do good on that front half and clear the division 50-50, I'm good with it. And I believe they, at best, 11-6, which I believe is possible. 10-7 at the worst, I believe. 11 wins a guarantee get you a playoff spot in the AFC. So 11-6 is my prediction. Worst case, 10-7, but I do think Tom is going to do a hell of a job. We got Justin Fields and Russell Wilson right now 1-year rentals, and I believe will be much better running the football off the line. We loaded up in the draft. Got my boy running with out of Michigan. I believe this will be a better offense this year. I'm glad Kenny Pickett's gone, but I'm happy. I'm happy with the team we got right now. But like I said, that back half of that schedule is tough, man. But I believe we find a way to get through it.
So do you think that 11-6 is good enough to win the division?
In our division, with the schedule that that all 3 teams have, or for all other 3 teams have, yes, absolutely. Especially with Baltimore and Cleveland having the first and second, and then we're third.
So you got the Steelers winning the division?
I have us finishing
second.
I have us finishing second behind Baltimore.
Yeah, I think Baltimore ultimately takes it. The only game I would say is one that, because again, I think that there's always games that are give and takes. The Eagles game is tough for me to throw the Steelers' way. It all depends on how they're performing and how those 2 quarterbacks that they got are performing. Whoever's starting, if Russ is playing well and playing kind of like the Russ that we know, I think they can win those 11 games. I think if it's kind of flip-flopping between the quarterbacks, I think that ultimately it'll be tough. The Eagles game is the only one for me on that back half that is up in the air, whether they can win or lose. Like that Eagles team can be so good or it can be so bad. And again, it depends on how they'll be with Nick Sirianni and all the trials and tribulations they went through last season after just blowing up in the playoffs. So that's one that I see them potentially could get a loss in, but again, there's always games in the season that you just don't know where you think they'll win and they can, just have a bad day. So, I mean, I think it's a respectable, showing from Adrian for his team. It just that back half, those last games are absolutely brutal. Like that's like I have never seen a schedule in the end like that in a long time. That is so hard.
Yeah, the
Also,
they're doing too much with some of these games too. After the season opener,
agree.
that Friday, you got the Packers and the Eagles in Brazil. Steelers playing on a Wednesday on Christmas. It's just like they're doing too much.
Bro, that Christmas weekend, the only day that there's not going to be NFL games on is Tuesday. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday. I think they're all games. And that Christmas schedule.
Don't forget, Jacksonville has to play back-to-back games in London, so that takes 2 home games away from their fans.
Yeah,
they did it last year. They played 2 games in London last season as well. I guess they figure if it's any fan base we can steal 2 games from. Why not the Jags?
Okay, Raj, what do you think for the Lions then?
The Lions. Oh man, I got the line. I got them at. I'm not going to go through the whole schedule. I got them at 10-7. I got them at 10.
Wow.
I got them at 10-7.
I like. So you're taking the under on their season wins.
Yeah,
10.5.
What is it, 11.5?
10.5.
I got them at 10-7. I think Green Bay wins the division this year. I think the Lions get in. I think the Lions get in the playoffs as a wild card.
Okay.
So yeah, that's where I'm at with it. But yeah, we got some feedback here. Let me get some feedback. Gabe says Jalen Warren breakout year incoming.
Yes,
Justin Fields running back punts. Jalen Warren confirmed.
My whole thing was it.
Shout out
Jaleel, we're coming for you, Jaleel. We're coming for you.
All right, we got DC doubling back with a basketball question. He said, "Hey guys, back to the Pistons for a minute. What do you guys think about trading Asor Thompson, Jaden Ivey, the number 5 pick for DeJounte Murray?"
No, that's way too much in my opinion. I would give up. I feel like Ivy in the 5th for DeJounte or Asar in the 5th, but I would want to keep one of those guys and get rid of it. I think that's giving up way too much for DeJounte Murray. Yeah. Great player, but
if I was to do that trade, I'd say get rid of Asor and give me DeJounte, and then I would keep Ivy over Asor. That's just me though, but.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. I like Asor better than Ivy for what he gives you, but I mean, I'm fine with that. DeJounte Murray gives you the shooting, but I wouldn't give away those 2 players and the 5th for DeJounte. That's way too much in my opinion.
Yeah, way too much. Gabe commented on it. He says, "I don't think DeJounte Murray would help the Pistons at all, and losing 2 guys we could still develop, but definitely seems like a Weaver move."
It does seem like a Weaver move. That's very true.
All right. And then DC just says, "For sure, I personally wouldn't trade Thompson."
Yeah, I think Thompson. I think he's honestly. I think I would trade Duran.
He has more upside.
Yeah, he has more upside, but I would trade Duran and Ivy over Thompson just because I think you can get more in return for those 2 guys. Much I would hate to see him go, or both those guys go, but you just get way more in return for those 2 guys. Asar didn't show you much offensively for teams to warrant trading away a guy that can score. Averages almost 20 a game or 20 on a season like DeJounte. So I wouldn't trade Asar. He gives you so much defensive upside. Like I've said it once, I've said it again. He is probably one of the best defenders I've seen in recent years.
Yeah, I think too. Like if we're gonna trade Duran, I think I wouldn't hate it, but I feel bad for him just because in fact if the Pistons had some actual shooting, he would be an even better player for them and would fit that role better. But the fact that everybody can pack the paint with nobody being able to shoot besides Cade, and it hurts him. It hurts his value and what he can do.
Yeah, I'm not trading Cade, Duran, Asor, or Marcus Sasser. Those 4 guys I'm keeping. Anybody else could go, but those 4 guys personally I would keep.
Cade and Duran would be the only ones that would be safe for me. That's it. Everybody else can go chop if they need to. But
I'm the biggest Pistons optimist, and I say Cade's the only one I'm keeping. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Adrian?
No, I was gonna say just if we're gonna make these moves and there's gonna be roster rebuilt, like you can't let Troy do it if you don't think he has any shot of being here. It just makes no sense. It's a typical Gore's move, and my thing is. He's making, I believe his company's worth over like $32 billion. The Pistons are represent 1.8 billion of that. you don't care about the franchise, give it to somebody who's gonna care. Like I wish we had an owner like a Mark Cuban or a Steve Ballmer,
I wish
or
we had a
even like
Bill
Glenn
Davidson.
Taylor's. Yeah, or even what Glenn Taylor's doing too. He's rolling it. He's rolling in his grave right now, seeing his team right now, because he did everything he could to make this team relevant. And then they're talking about the president of basketball operations, the guy from Minnesota, Tim Connolly. You're talking about trying to throw $15 million his way. If I'm him, no way in hell I'm coming to Detroit.
I'm coming to Detroit if you're giving me $15 million a year. Are you kidding me?
He's making, I believe he's making eight or nine.
Eight with the Timberwolves.
Yeah, I'm cool. I'm staying where
he
I'm
already
at.
said he wanted to leave, to like step down to the Timberwolves if they weren't going to pay him. If you're going to pay me $15 million a year to come to a team that doesn't seem to care about anything that I do, yeah, I would take the job.
And the secret fact about him, if they could get him, I think it'd be a home run, because he was formerly in the Nuggets front office and helped build the team that they have now. And then he's helped construct this Minnesota team. So if he could help with the Pistons, it will take a couple years, because he'd have to burn it down to the studs, because we literally have no trade, no picks, nothing. We just he'd have to figure it out. I don't know, but
yeah. All right. So yeah. Last thing. So Reid, we see Caitlin Clark made her WNBA debut. What'd you think about her debut?
I mean, I think she played well. A lot of people want to talk about the 10 turnovers. I mean, that's just kind of, taking your lumps. You got to learn as a rookie. She scored 20 points, shot 4 threes, won me some money. I was happy about it. I mean, she didn't play well tonight. I think she only ended up with like 9 points. She shot like 1 for 7 from 3, but I think that's just kind of the way it goes. You're just adjusting to the league. Sabrina Ionescu didn't play well either. Like, she was the number 1 pick back in 2020, I think. So, like, yeah, you take the lumps where they go. Indiana Fever is not a great team, so just I just think that ultimately she doesn't have a good team around her to play to her skills. But I think her debut was fine. A lot of people want to crap on the 10 turnovers. That's just kind of learning the job. So I think she did good. I think the second game wasn't great, but when you're going up against a girl like Brianna Stewart, who's just crazy good, it's hard to win. Indiana's just not a good team.
No, better in terms of taking care of the ball tonight. 3 turnovers, but the first 2 games she's been fouling a lot. She had 5 fouls tonight. She's got to learn to play through the physicality and just learn the game. It'll take her a minute. So people expecting her to be dropping 40 points. It's not realistic. And let's not forget, she just got done with a college season a month ago. You throw her right into the WNBA immediately right after that. She's got to adjust to the speed, the physicality, and the skill set. So it's going to take her a second to adjust to it. So I mean, let's be patient. I think she'll be just fine.
Be patient. All I got to say about Caitlin Clark is she got teams chartered jets now. So I mean, she's done a lot for the WNBA game. Like, she just pumped the brakes, and she's the type of person who came into the league with such high praise that she's going to obviously get the backlash for it, but it's just not. I mean, it's not feasible. It's guys coming in, like, look at Scoot Henderson. Everybody thought he was going to come into the league and be a decent point guard for the Trailblazers, and he wasn't great either. Like, you learn as you play. So, like, he obviously wasn't as highly touted as she was, but like, you take your lumps, you learn how to play. I think she gets adjusted. She's going to do just fine. I think she'll probably end the season probably shooting like 38 from 3, I would assume, because she shoots so many of them. But 38 from 3 is perfectly fine for a rookie season, I would say. So if she averages 15 a game in the WNBA, 15 to 20 a game in the WNBA, shoots 38 from 3, and averages 5-6 assists, you can't complain about that. That would be a good rookie season.
Great.
Gabe says first game 20 points, 5 for 15 in a couple weeks. That would be 35 points and 11 of 15.
There you go.
All up from here. All up from here. All right. Well, yeah, there it is. Good show, fellas. Anything else you guys want to add before we get up out of here?
I just want to say, I sent it in the group chat earlier, but big announcement, guys. The college football video game will finally be here July 19th. It will finally be back after a 10-year hiatus. They're dropping 3 editions, the standard, the deluxe, and the MVP bundle, with the MVP bundle will include Madden as well. So I'm going to go jump on that, guys. I can't wait to start this Dynasty mode, but tomorrow they will be dropping the full review of the game with the gameplay and what's coming in it. So be on the lookout tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, guys. So I'll be sure to hit you in the chat with that. But I'm excited, man. I feel like a little kid again. So I'm want to touch on that, so all the college football fans around the world, if you've been waiting on that, then we're ready to go.
I'll just say this: I got I'm buying it because my guy is on the cover. Me and Donovan Edwards right there he's going to be on the cover. So I got to support my guy.
All right. PlayStation or Xbox before we get up out of here.
PlayStation
For solo games, Xbox for everything else.
All right, last one from Gabe. NCAA Dynasty season. Let's go. Have a good night.
Here we
yes,
go.
sir, Gabe.
There it is. Absolutely. All right. Well, good show, fellas. We'll see you guys next week. Everybody, make sure you like the video for me. Subscribe to the channel.
Please do. Show us some love. We need it.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.